This is vk3sl. Welcome to the late night graveyard missions. And just testing here on 160 and on UHF, and also streaming online. There's a YouTube stream which can be found under my call sign. Just look me up on YT and it's all there. And it's also our blogspot, I should mention, vk3sl.blogspot.com for further information about the Stazione. So, folks, we'll just meander along with a bit of nostalgia. A shorter program tonight, I think. It'll suit the energy levels. We're sort of trying to recuperate a little bit this week, so we might just have a bit of a modest missions. So we've got our channels open there. And,
good evening.
And hello to you, Frank. How are you? How's your evening been?
Very well.
Good.
Just having a quiet cup of coffee here.
Sounds like a good idea.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I listened a little to Clint's program earlier on. I was sort of having a lie down and had it in one ear. So
I was on the computer and I got lost track of the time, so I came on towards the end. He's coming on.
Yes.
Sorry, he's going to listen.
Okay. Oh, good. Oh, that's nice to hear. Yeah, it was interesting to hear the asteroid story there.
Yes, it's all interesting stuff, isn't it?
Oh, it always is, yes. Fascinating topics. Yay. Well, I thought I'd sort of feature a mystery violinist tonight. This is a story that's really captured my imagination, but I'm going to leave it for a little bit. We'll come back to that in about 20 minutes. But it's an exciting little tale, and it's amazing how many extraordinary players are out there in the woodwork. And this is a story of someone who's just with exceptional gifts on the fiddle, as is sort of suddenly, well, they've been known for a while, but it's a rather convoluted story, so we'll address it in due course. But we'll play a couple of 78s first. So got a recording from 1909 on the table. It's one of these old Monarch discs with the big rim round the edge. Weighs half a ton, big heavy 78. And it's a recording of Louis If and his orchestra. He had a big orchestra in Britain in the years before the First World War. When was he born? In the 1850s, I think, in Germany. Then lived in Glasgow and Britain, and had quite a successful orchestra that sort of toured and played Edwardian, I don't know, potpourris, that sort of thing. In this instance, we're going to hear a Dance du Paraguay. It's a two-step, and yeah, look, it's quite well recorded. It's a bit scratched up, but it should come across all right. So we'll go back to 1909, and we'll hear the music of Louis If and his orchestra. Music with a South American tinge, the Dance du Paraguay, two-step, okay, with If's Orchestra, conducted by Louis If. It says personally conducted by Herr If on the label. And yes, If's Orchestra were really big. I was just reading a little about them, and they sort of had... what does it say here? If's Orchestra, which was conducted by both Wilhelm and Louis If, became enormously popular, playing at concerts and exclusive clubs for dancers and for other functions, including state balls at Buckingham Palace, no less.
Good heavens.
Yeah, and sadly, the orchestra didn't survive the anti-German feeling associated with the First World War.
I'm going to say there'd be a little tension there.
Yes, that's it. And so they sort of fell away prior to that time, but it's very much an Edwardian curiosity, that disc. So yeah, something a bit unusual. Now, how am I going to wrestle that one off the platter? They're so heavy, these early 12-inch records. I'll just get both hands on.
Why they made them so heavy?
I don't know. I think it was a sort of prestige, like heavy vinyl, isn't it? A heavier record, you get your money's worth.
Well, that's true.
more shellac. Yeah, anyhow.
So test the strength of your turntable, mate.
That's exactly it. Yes, you'd have to have the right equipment to play them. Riffing through this pile of newly found continental records, there's a record here of Georges Thiel and the chorus of the Garde Républicaine Band of France. I can't say that. Republican Band. That's not right. You know what I mean.
Don't worry.
Yeah. And we've got Le Revive Passé on one side and La Marseillaise on the other.
Oh.
So what do you reckon,
I'll
Frank?
go for the national anthem.
The national anthem, no less. All right, here we go. We'll have to stand up and be very...
Upstanding.
Upstanding for the French.
Upstanding.
Yes. And, this is a very warped version of the national anthem, but we may get there.
Oh.
Gloire est arrivée contre nous de la tyrannie, l'étendard sanglant est levé, l'étendard sanglant est levé. Entendez-vous dans les campagnes mugir ces féroces soldats, ils viennent jusque dans nos bras, égorger nos fils, nos compagnes. Aux armes, citoyens, formez vos bataillons, marchons, marchons, qu'un sang impur abreuve nos sillons. Sacré de la patrie, conduit, soutient nos braves vengeurs. Liberté, liberté chérie, combats avec tes défenseurs, combats avec tes défenseurs, sous nos drapeaux que la victoire accourt à tes mâles accents, que tes ennemis expirants voient ton triomphe et notre gloire. Aux armes, citoyens, formez vos bataillons, marchons, marchons. Nos sillons.
indeed, that was a thrill hearing George Thill sing the national anthem. So very official.
Pretty stirring stuff, isn't it?
It is stirring. I had to stand up and just, do my due diligence. And
I did that.
oh,
I did.
yes, that's right. We all have to, pave the way. I was reading about him. He was one of the great lyric dramatic tenors of his generation, and I didn't know he was actually a student of Fernando de Lucia, who was a very big name in the 19th century.
Right.
In fact, I think Canio was written from Pagliacci was written for de Lucia. So I think there's an interesting lineage there.
Boy.
And Mr. Thill himself was born in the 1890s, and he lived to the 1980s. So he had a long innings.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might flip the disc. What do you reckon?
Good voice.
Yeah, really.
Got
good
any
voice.
more?
Yeah, I'll play side B. It's a bit warped, so the tone arm's jumping all over the place here. I'm going to get this right. Guard Republican. I still can't say it. Can't get my tongue around it. All right, yeah, let's have a listen to side B. I won't bother announcing. I think we'll just let the music tell it.
Speak for itself.
Speak for itself, indeed.
Les soldats sont là-bas endormis sur la plaine, où le souffle du soir chante pour les bercer. La terre au blé rasée parfume son haleine, la sentinelle au loin va d'un pas cadencé. Soudain voici qu'au ciel des cavaliers sans nombre illuminent d'éclairs l'imprécise clarté, et le petit chapeau semble guider ses ombres vers l'immortalité. Le voyez-vous, les hussards, les dragons, la garde, glorieux fous, d'Austerlitz que l'éclat regarde, ceux de Cléber, de Marceau chantant la victoire, géants de fer s'en vont chevaucher la gloire. Mais le petit soldat voit s'assombrir le rêve. Il lui semble là-bas qu'un orage se lève. L'hydrocasque pointu sournoisement s'avance. L'enfant s'éveille ému, mais tout dort en silence. Et dans son cœur, le songe est revenu. Les canons, les clairons, écoutez, regardez, voyez-vous, les armes, les dragons, la garde, ils s'arrêtent tous, l'empereur qui les regarde. Chers enfants de la race, sonnez au chant, le rêve
Well, there we go. Mr. Thill. And, we'll keep riffing through this pile, I think, Frank, and just play a couple more, and then we'll cut to the chase and hear our mystery violinist. And there's a Radiola Telefunken disc here of Rosita Serrano. Now, she has a rather unfortunate series of associations just during the war. But she tried to make amends. I think she's a Chilean singer, but she had very big success in Germany. There's a lot of German records in this pile too. She had big success in Germany during the 1930s. And then she went to back to South America, and she was actually a spy, it seems. How interesting.
Which side?
Yeah. She was accused by Germany of being a spy.
Oh, I see.
So it's not a clear picture as to where her allegiances were. She could never go back to Germany, and she spent her last days in South America. It seems like a very mixed picture here about Miss Serrano. So all I can say is it says here that she had a bell-like voice and pitch-perfect whistling.
Ooh.
She was known as the Chilean nightingale.
Is that for a singing or a whistling?
Whistling, I don't know. So anyhow, it says she went back to, yes, she died in poverty in Santiago in 1997. My gosh, okay. Well, she made lots of records, and she had many big hits. I don't know where this record was produced. I think it's in French. I think, yes, she's singing in French here. So it's the translation is "Say to Me I Love You" is the name of the song, I think, and it's a Radiola Telefunken disc from the 1940s. So we'll play this, have a listen to the bell-like voice and perfect pitch whistling of Rosita Serrano.
Very good.
This is vk3sl.
And vk3sl.
Est-ce que tu n'as rien à me dire, hein? Moi je vous aime tellement. Prêtez-vous ce soir, je suis ma tranquille, car votre désir se fait plus ardent. Ne profitez pas de mon cœur fragile. Patientez un peu. Non, 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 non. Alors une fois, dites-moi, je vous aime. Pour moi, rien n'est plus doux. Ces mots toujours les vivre, ils sont bons par vous. Vous quand bien même vous mentiriez sans jour. Dites-moi, je vous aime, je vous croirai toujours. Notre rendez-vous toujours dit s'achève. Il faut se quitter pour s'étendre la main et pour prolonger cet instant du rêve. Avant de me dire non, 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 alors à demain. Dites-moi, je vous aime, pour moi rien n'est plus doux. C'est mon toujours les mêmes, qu'ils sont bons par vous. Je l'avoue quand bien même vous mentiriez un jour. Dites-moi, je vous aime, je vous croirai toujours. Je l'avoue comme bien même vous mentiriez un jour. Dites-moi chérie, je vous aime, je vous croirai toujours.
What a delightful intimacy. Rosita Serrano. And I really enjoyed that.
A lovely book. Bill Likewise right.
Yeah, terrific. Yeah, I'm just reading a little bit more about her, and yes, she was really. It seemed like initially in Germany she was a bit opportunistic, and she was given all these gigs, and then she left in 1943, and that's when she gave a number of concerts for Jewish refugees, and then the Nazis banned her, and so she was actually blacklisted by them. So it was just hard for her to recover her career because she had the earlier popularity, but I think she was denazified, and there was no. She was able to. She went back to the United States and tried to reinvigorate her career, but it was too complicated.
The bird had flown.
I think so. So it's sad that she died in poverty at the end of her life. But, yeah.
Sounds French, really, doesn't it?
It sounds really French.
Very I mean, obviously singing French, but she's got that fast vibrato
Yes,
French
definitely.
style.
That's right. Very much so. And but it says there's some interesting jazz recordings in the blues style of Blue Ethel Waters. My God, I can't even imagine.
Oh my God, really?
That warrants investigation.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, I'll put a little rain check on her because I'd like to come back and hear. I'll play the other side now because I quite enjoyed that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the other side's called A Love Like Ours.
Maybe she'll whistle.
Yeah, I hope she does.
Yeah.
And another recording in French of Ms. Serrano.
Don't you love to hear French tongue?
Oh, it's such a beautiful language, isn't it?
Certainly is.
Oh, it's tantalizing. Absolutely.
Pourquoi il y tant des romans, Pierre et Benoît au Paul Morand, pensez y trouver dans leurs livres? De quoi rêver des nuits, des jours, quand les plus beaux romans d'amour nous sommes en train de les vivre? N'avons-nous pas assez lutté pour vivre ensemble et nous aimer? Ferme les yeux et voyez-toi, car tu sais aussi bien que moi. Un amour comme les nôtres, il n'en existait pas deux. Ce n'est pas celui des autres, c'est quelque chose de mieux. Sans me parler, je sais ce que tu veux me dire. À mon regard, tu comprends très bien ce que je désire. Pourquoi demander aux autres un roman plus merveilleux, un amour comme le nôtre? Il n'en existait pas deux. C'est certain, tannant des pays lointains, sous des ciels bleus de bleu rivage. Oui, mais là-bas, qui trouvait-on des rues, des taxis, des maisons? Chérie, méfiez-toi des mirages. Tiens, regardez notre intérieur, des livres, des chansons, des fleurs, et mets des bras pour te bercer, et mon cœur pour toujours t'aimer. Un amour comme le nôtre, il n'en existait pas deux. Et n'est pas celui des autres, c'est quelque chose de mieux. Sans me parler, je sais ce que tu veux me dire. À mon regard, tu comprends très bien ce que je désire. Pourquoi demander aux autres un roman plus merveilleux, un amour comme le nôtre? Il n'en existait pas deux. Na 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 na.
It's just effortless, really, isn't it?
Oh, yes, they're lovely.
She's got a beautiful voice. I'm quite enchanted by her. I think I need to find out more about Rosetta Serrano.
I think we need to.
Yes.
Need to know.
I just did a quick search and there's lots of material spanning her whole career.
Oh, excellent.
Many TV specials and films and things. So we can find out more about her. But she's one of these really gifted singers who it's just so natural for them to sing. It's like sounds effortless. Now, who's the other South American singer we featured a while ago who also had a really beautiful voice? Oh, it'll come back to me. Yeah, we did a program on someone. I forget.
Yes, I know. I can remember it.
Yes, it's all right. We'll come back to that and we'll find out.
Just before we leave France,
Yes, indeed.
I heard a lovely song that I used to hear on the radio as a kid. I heard it the other day.
Yes, what was it?
It's called La Belle Marguerite, sung by Georges Guittare.
La Bella Margarita.
Marguerite.
George. All right, let's see. La Bella Margarita, George Guittari. Here it is. We have it on the list and we'll play it now.
See what you think.
I'd like to hear it very much. So we'll cue it up. It's good to have a French connection. All right, here we go. Takes a moment. It's got to line itself up and we are doing a internet cue. A long internet queue, I'm afraid. We'll get there. Looks like they're giving us a lot of intro material here. Recorded in 1947, and someone is about to do a needle drop. We are almost begun.
In September when the grapes are purple, Marguerite picked the grapes with me. There are silver bells upon her fingers, all the little birds come out to see. Ah, belle Marguerite, so beautiful to see. Les mains de ma petite Marguerite picking grapes with me. Ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a, ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a, ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a, ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a. In October when they fill the wine press, Marguerite tried the grapes with me. Marguerite has the feet of angels, all the little boys come out to see. Belle Marguerite, so beautiful to see. Les pieds de ma petite Marguerite trading grapes with me. Ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a, ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a, ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a, ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a. In December when the wind is blowing, when the snow is on the bloody sea, sunshine still is in the golden blossoms. Marguerite, drink the sun with me. Ah, belle Marguerite, so beautiful to see. La boule de ma petite Marguerite, drink the wine with me. Ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a, ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a. Marguerite, bring the sun with me, ma belle Marguerite, so beautiful to see. La bouche de ma petite Marguerite, drink it up and oh, Marguerite. Marguerite drinkika avec moi.
Oh, Frank, what a great choice.
Lovely, it's charming, isn't it?
Isn't it charming? It's great. It's French cabaret. And it's
Very cabaret. I heard it as a little kid and I loved it.
Fantastic, yeah. It's a beautiful song. I was reading about him, and apparently he was he had a star role in the original production of An American in Paris.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
I think that made his name.
Sure, against Gene Kelly. I wonder if he sang that song in French as well.
Yes, he does. Yes. Sounds nice, sounds better.
Yeah, it would sound better in French. We'll save it for an afternoon mission, see if I can dig it up and find the French version. Yeah. But
that was the one I heard the other day in French.
Oh, did you? Okay, yes. That was just the first that came up on the list. I will...
No, that's the one was commonly played. But,
yeah. But nice
it does sound much better in French.
Yeah. That's right. It's like, was it Charles Trenet?
Trenet, yeah.
Trenet.
La Mer.
La Mer.
La Mer.
La Mer. Oh, I got to play it. I know that one person listening to this program will like La Mer. This was in my grandfather's collection, La Mer, but I'll look it up. Charles Trenet, I think his original recording was in the 1940s as well. Yes, 1946, Beyond the Sea.
He wrote it.
Yeah, he wrote it. I remember we played this at an earlier missions, and I looked it up, and there's almost every year of his life, there's a recording or a video film of him singing this well into his 80s. He's still singing La Mer.
He was certainly not a one-hit wonder, but he certainly didn't lose any money on that one.
He didn't. All right, here we go. Charles Trenet and the big hit, French hit from 1946, La Mer.
La mer qu'on voit danser le long des golfes clairs a des reflets d'argent. La mer, des reflets changeants sous la pluie. La mer au ciel d'été confond ces blancs moutons avec les anges si purs. La mer, bergère d'azur infinie. Voyez, près des étangs, ces grands roseaux mouillés. Voyez, ces oiseaux blancs et ces maisons rouillées. La mer les a bercés le long des golfes clairs et d'une chanson d'amour. La mer a bercé mon cœur pour la vie. La mer qu'on va danser le long des golfes clairs a des reflets d'argent. La mer, des reflets changeants sous la pluie. La mer au ciel d'été confond ces blancs moutons avec les anges si purs. La mer, bergère d'azur infinie. Voyez, près des étangs, ces grands roseaux mouillés. Voyez, ces oiseaux blancs et ces maisons rouillées. La mer les a bercés c'est mon cœur pour la vie.
Well, folks, that was the original, the first version of La Mer from 1946, Charles Trenet. That was a big hit, wasn't it? It really was on everyone's radar, that record.
It totally was. Totally was. I used to love that too, as a kid.
Yeah, it's one of those eternal songs, and I love the piano part. Everyone can play that piano part.
Yeah, that's right.
Nice little circle of fifths, arpeggios. It's fun. Well, look, how can we can't play Charles Trenet without playing just one track of Edith Piaf.
I was going to say.
We've got to get this in some sort of proportion, I think.
Yeah.
So
a bit of gender balance.
Oh, yes, that's indeed the case. Well, we've got La Foule here with Edith Piaf in 1950 mumble. I think this is, I'm not sure, it doesn't give us much other information, but this one here has got nearly 55 million hits, so it must be good. So, yeah, let's have a listen to some Edith Piaf.
La ville en fête et en délire, suffocant sous le soleil et sous la joie. Et j'entends dans la musique les cris, les rires qui éclatent et rebondissent autour de moi. Et perdu parmi ces gens qui me bousculent, étourdi, désemparé, je reste là. Quand soudain je me retourne, il se recule et la foule vient me jeter entre ses bras. Emportés par la foule qui nous traîne, nous entraîne, écrasés l'un contre l'autre, nous ne formons qu'un seul corps. Et le flot sans effort nous pousse enchaîner l'un et l'autre, et nous laisse tous deux épanouis, enivrés et heureux. Entraînés par la foule qui s'élance et qui danse une folle farandole, nos deux mains restent soudées. Et parfois soulevés, nos deux corps enlacés s'envolent et retombent tous deux épanouis, enivrés et heureux. Et la joie qu'elle a poussée par son sourire me transperce et rejaillit au fond de moi. Mais soudain je pousse un cri parmi les rires quand la foule vient l'arracher d'entre mes bras. Emportés par la foule qui nous traîne, nous entraîne, nous éloigne l'un de l'autre, je lutte et je me débat. Mais le son de ma voix s'étouffe dans le rire des autres, et je crie de douleur, de fureur et de rage, et je pleure. Et traîné par la foule qui s'élance et qui danse une folle farandole, je suis emporté au loin. Et je crispe mes poings maudissant la foule qui me vole l'homme qu'elle m'avait donné que je n'ai jamais retrouvé.
I'm yearning for the French experience. I just want to sit in the cafe and just feel that warm air.
Just gets to you, doesn't it?
Oh, does it ever? And I want to learn how to play the piano accordion. Have you ever played one?
Then you can go to get the real nightclub affair.
Oh, yeah. I've always admired accordion players. I just think it's a great instrument.
They have sort of special ones that are the two notes slightly out of tune.
Yes.
With each other, and you get a vibrato.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, you get the wobbly defibrillator effect.
Yes. That's typically French, I think.
Yeah, I think it is too, yes. They're sort of small accordions. They're not the Lawrence Welk type. They're sort of little parlour accordions.
Oh, yeah, but don't they sound terrific?
They do sound good. I like them.
With that music, I mean.
Yes, it perfectly fits that style. But I used to do gigs with an accordion player. He played a small accordion. And he was a viola player, but occasionally he'd bring the accordion out and we'd for weddings and things, and that would be a part of the act.
Oh, that'd be terrific.
Yeah, it was so much fun, and he was a really good improviser, and he could just slip into any style and just, I can't remember. I think he was a Hungarian fellow. It was a great experience.
That's terrific.
All good. Well, here we go.
Lovely to hear the little sparrow.
Yes.
She's the best.
I know. She sings it beautifully. Just wonderful. So engaging. I want to hear more of this music. Well, look, we'll go for the proverbial gear change, and we'll hear the mystery violinist. Now, this is a saga of sorts, because there is a blog page I follow online, a guy called Daniel Kurganov, who is a violinist in America, and he has a site where he puts up lots of teaching tips. He's a really, really outstanding player, and he's in his 30s, I think, or 30s or 40s, and he devotes a lot of his time to sharing his skills. He's a very generous individual, and he's got a massive following online. A lot of teachers and enthusiasts follow him, and he's a connoisseur of the great players, and that's what draws me to Mr. Kurnikov. And he's he really knows them all, and he understands their stylistic elements and their cultural milieus. It's a topic that really fascinates me no end, and he is probably one of the most out there exponents of sharing that wisdom in a public forum. Anyhow, recently he on his blog or on his YouTube site, he put up a page that said the mystery violinist everyone must hear, and he offered a prize to who could guess who it was. And thousands of people have 16,000 so far have responded trying to work out who this player is. And I put in about half a dozen submissions because I thought it sounded like certain Heifetz-like individuals.
Yep.
And the only clue he said was this one of the most staggering talents, and he just said it's not who you might expect it to be.
Oh.
So that really got everyone talking, and what a conversation it's been. And people have just been chomping at the bit, waiting for that moment when he lets the answer out, because nobody got it. Thousands of responses, but nobody got the answer. And the answer happens to be a young Japanese fiddle player called Shunsuke Sato, S-A-T-O.
Yeah.
Now, this fellow was an unbelievable talent. Well, he still is. Unbelievable. He's just sort of like Heifetz, like one in 1,000-year type player, you know.
Good heavens.
And as a young person, he made only a couple of CDs, and then he changed gear completely and became a Baroque specialist.
Good heavens.
So it totally changed his spots, and he became the key figure of the Netherlands Bach Society. And it couldn't be more different. Now, it's a staggering change, and when you hear how great he is as a young player, apparently he recorded all the Paganini Caprices, all the Sai sonatas, he did all the very big works.
The hard stuff.
Yeah, the really hard stuff, and he played them really well, but these CDs were not circulated out of Japan, really. So there's very, very little of him heard in the West.
Too much on the tube?
Very little. But this Mr. Kurnikov provides us with two examples, and there's a few of him playing with the Bach Society, and he actually did a tour with the Australian it was with the Australian Baroque Orchestra.
Oh, yeah.
A couple of years ago, and there's some recordings with them as well online. So I'll just play a few of his discs, or a few items that I've been able to locate.
Yeah.
And I'll start off with the two that sort of got everyone talking, and it's absolutely ravishing playing. There's nothing like it. It's like Heifetz. He's got the same extraordinary ability to change his vibrato as
the note requires.
Exactly. Very, very few players in history have had incredible, fine control over vibrato speed and vibrato amplitude, and those things have such expressive potential. If you can master that, and you've got a good musical imagination, you can really just create such.
Ahead of just about everyone else, aren't you? Really?
Yeah, it's it, and only a few people in history have been able to do it. Heifetz did it superbly, and that's what makes Heifetz's playing so just unbelievably ravishing and chiseled, and just it's like a perfect sculpture. But this player is of similar kind, really. I won't say it's as great as Heifetz made so many recordings and had a long career. This chap, Mr. Sato, made just a handful of recordings between the age of 18 and early 20s, and then he changed tack, and that's fine. I mean, it's exciting for him that he made that choice. I sort of feel a bit sad about it because
rock music wouldn't have required his virtuosity.
No, nothing like it. So it's sort of a step back, but maybe, well, in one sense, but I think his Baroque playing is a tad mannered. But that's only my opinion, and I think it's very great. And we'll certainly play some examples, and I won't try and interfere with that. But I think we'll start off with these few romantic examples, the material that sort of got everyone talking.
Yeah.
And I think you might agree this is something really out of the box. So let's have a listen to two recordings. We'll hear Tchaikovsky's Lenski's aria from Eugene Onegin, and I think the other one's the Mussorgsky Guitara. I think they're the two works. And yes, with Mr. Shunsuke Sato, recorded about 15 years ago. that was something else.
Isn't he great?
Isn't it? It's astonishing playing. The music of Shunsuke Sato.
Just takes your breath away.
It really does. It's just full of incredible intensity, white-hot intensity, and so much colour in the sound. It just,
total control.
Yeah. It's just fabulous.
That vibrato thing is so powerful too.
It is. When it's done well like that, it really sculptures the tone in a way that nothing else does. Usually there's a universal, my cello teacher used to call it an electric bell vibrato, and you hear it on most players. It's just sort of like a varnish, but in this instance it's so calibrated, it's so part of the propagation and the embodiment of the sound. It has its own...
Just part of his musical interpretation, isn't it?
Very much so. And just abandon, I love that romantic style. Oh, it takes my breath away. It's
that vibrato thing, fiddlers do it, and very good opera singers do it as well.
Yes, they can control.
Callis did it.
Yes, Callis could, indeed, especially her early recordings.
That's right.
Yeah, she had a great control over it, and she used it very much for expressive purpose. Yeah, I know, that's very much the case. Yeah, so there we have it. I can play a couple of other little excerpts.
Oh, great.
I'll play the Australian one, actually. There's a recording of one of the Paganini concertos played with the Australian Brandenburg Orchestra, and he's out actually... I think he's directing it in this instance. So I could play just the last few minutes of the Rondo Gallant that's one, I think it's the last movement of concerto number 4. So we'll hear a bit more of Shunsuke Sato. performance as well. That's recorded in Sydney, the Australian Brandenburg Orchestra. And
Paul Dyer must have realised his greatness to bring him out here.
yes, I think so. And that happened in 2016, and I think very shortly after that he changed tack.
Yeah.
So that's the situation there. It wasn't the best example, actually, because most of that was artificial harmonics, which probably didn't come over the ear very well. But yeah, it's an extremely virtuosic performance. That music's very, very hard to interpret. What can you do with it? It's sort of nothing music in a way, but it's tantalising in its own manner, I suppose. It's certainly hyper virtuosic. Yeah, so look, what we might do is just hear some of his later stuff, and I'm not going to pass judgment. I think he's remarkable, whatever he does, and hats off to him for making choices and following his dream. And the word is that he's never going back to playing romantic music. He's donned a Baroque bow. He's got rid of his Stradivarius, and he's playing a Baroque instrument instead.
That's interesting.
And so totally different aesthetic. It couldn't be more different. It's quite sort of bewildering in a way, but it's fine. I will play one more romantic one at the very end. I'll save it for the very end. It'll be our ride out, but just to go full circle, because I have to do that. But I'd like to play some of his Bach because it is beautiful and very heartfelt performances, and his desire to understand Bach and to immerse himself in Bach's world. I can completely get that.
Totally, that's right.
So
you could make that your life work.
That's it, exactly. So that's what he's chosen to do. So yeah, there is an example of him playing. Oh, look, all the partitas are there. This is one of the recordings he made with the Netherlands Bach Society. Very active in presenting their YouTube
They're a great
clips.
group, actually.
They are a really good group. They're fantastic. And he's like the musical director of it, I think. But I read somewhere that he's very recently moved on, so I'm not sure what the story is there. But we'll hear one of the movements from this. I think it's the... I can't see. I'll have to... Let me check this. Excuse me. I will find it. Here it is, Bach Violin Partita in B minor. It's the Tempo de Boria. This is a very hard movement to interpret. It can sound very choppy. And I think, I do enjoy romantic interpretations of Bach, but I find this movement problematic, and it probably sounds better played in the Baroque way with a curved bow, because you can get more resonance out of the chords.
Yeah.
So here's an example where I think his playing really does shine. Let's have a listen. Well, we heard the tempo Deborah and the double from the violin Partita number 1 in B minor.
Gorgeous.
002. Yeah, absolutely gorgeous. He played that superbly. He really indulged in the voicings. You could hear it had a lot of space, it breathed, and
Lovely reverberant.
and acoustic as well.
Back, just let it all spill out, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just amazing music, isn't it? I could just listen to that all day.
Yes, it's good that you fill in the harmonies in your head, don't you?
You do. So true. I find the same. It sort of becomes like an orchestra in your mind because it's scaffolds. Yeah. Oh, I love it. Now I can play some more Bach. And in fact, there is a very interesting interview where he talks about his love for the E major concerto, particularly the middle movement.
I know it.
Yeah, and so I thought it'd be interesting. It just goes for a few minutes. He talks about this, and it's very personal, and it's hard to find words to describe this level of expressive intent. And I think he really, he puts his heart on the line here.
Yep.
And then after that, we'll have a listen to that movement from from one of his recordings with the Netherlands Bach Society. So yeah, let's have a listen to Sato himself talking about the C-sharp minor adagio from the E major violin concerto, BWV 1042.
In quite stark contrast to the very bright outer movement, you have this middle movement. That's just one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard of. It's really incredible. The key itself, C-sharp minor, one does not come across this key, especially for an entire movement like this, very often at all. It leads you into double sharps, into really quite awkward sounding chords, and I think it's really part of the affect of this movement to really exploit some really high moments filled with great tension. The solo violin, doesn't really have a melody, actually. The theme, if you can call it that, it's more in the bass line, and the orchestra starts, and right away you notice that it's the bass line that has sort of like a very regular heartbeat like theme that actually continues throughout most of the movement. And sometimes it's really interesting because you have a lot of things going on and suddenly everything disappears, or it comes to a standstill, and you hear this heartbeat again. It's really marvelous. There's a lot of, I would say, a feeling of suffering, or just it's very difficult to move on. And then it's brilliant because then, the relative key of C-sharp minor is E major, and then there's this a few bars where actually this heartbeat bass, it stops, and all you get is the top voices, so the viola upwards. And this contrast of this dark, anguished C-sharp minor into E major, it's just you see a bit of, I mean, for me anyway, you really see a bit of heaven, and this contrast of when it comes back down to earth or to hell or whatever it is, it really squeezes your heart.
Isn't that incredibly moving? That analysis or that reflection on the middle movement of the Bach C major concerto.
So heartfelt.
It's so heartfelt. It just really pulls at the heartstrings. I'll play that in its entirety now. We'll hear that whole movement. In fact, we'll let it right out into the last movement as well, I think.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'll just have to cue this up. But we're listening to Shunsuke Sato, a brilliant young violinist who's now in his early 30s. have Bach's E major violin concerto. Yes, and extraordinary playing of Mr. Sato.
Certainly was extraordinary.
Yeah, it's I've got mixed feelings about the tempo of the last movement.
I know.
It's quite fast, but at the same time, it really had a dance-like quality to it, I thought.
Well, that's it. It does.
And it had plenty of spring, and I sort of thought that was effective.
A lot of energy that the slower doesn't, but I'm still a bit stuck with the slower.
Yes, I do like Bach, for me, needs to really breathe. But look, I understand where he's coming from.
Oh, yeah.
And, there's lots of vitality. And, oh, gosh, isn't it amazing that E major moment, that awakening in the middle of the slow movement?
Oh, God, it is.
With the sunrise.
I'd kind of, when he pointed it out, I sort of said, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But I hadn't actually noticed it to the extent that he now has enabled me to.
Yeah, sure. I felt the same way, Frank. Yes, it's a magic moment, it really is, and it just really shows how much emotional depth there is in Bach's writing.
Oh, that's people who say he's not emotional. It's so rubbish.
It's totally rubbish because that music is so deeply felt. It's just something of profound consequence. Oh, anyhow. Anyhow, I just thought it would be fun. I'd love to find his CD. He made recordings of the Isai solo sonatas, and apparently the CD is impossible to find. Everyone's trying to scramble to find it.
Okay.
So someone will put it up. I think there's been a sort of an interest in his earlier output now, following this little survey, and hopefully we'll find some more of those early recordings.
Maybe they'll re-release them.
Yeah, they probably will. I'd say so. And they'll be out there, and so I suppose it's a case of watching this space. Well, look, I'll wind up now with just the last movement of the Korngold Violin Concerto. This is a recording that Shunsuke Sato made when he was 18.
Okay,
and
I don't know this.
Oh, it's such a marvellous work. It's enormous romantic work. It's a work that sort of Heifetz owns. No one dares to play it because Heifetz's performance
He's put the bar too high.
Well, yeah, no one can even come close. But I think this is pretty extraordinary, and I don't think it's necessary to compare. But I think, yes, this really does stand out, and it is a very dynamic performance. So we can finish with this and for today, and should be back tomorrow. There was talk in the household of going to a concert tomorrow afternoon, but I don't know if I'm up to it. So
you need to take rest.
Yeah, I do. And going out and spending I've been going to concerts every week or every weekend for the last month or so, and it's been wonderful. But if I'm up to it, I might go, and then in which case I'll give you a ring, and there will be no missions. But I think it's most probable that I will be around, and we'll just have a quiet afternoon.
Either way, it's fine.
Yeah, so we'll see where it ends up. But
Say good evening to the listener, especially to Clint, who's probably still
yes, a warm hello to you, Clint, and
Jamie, if you happen to be listening.
Definitely, and greetings to all in the bound who are listening in and being a part of this experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a really special indulgence getting to know this music and finding our pathway. And thanks for sharing it. All right, we'll be back tomorrow probably, and Sunday, and yes, I'll probably zip along to the EMDRC event on Sunday. I think it's
it's a big one, yeah.
Yeah, so there's something happening there. So that's on the cards.
I may get there. I don't know. I don't know.
Sure. It'll be probably quite crowded because there'll be I know that sort of sales do galvanise people a little bit.
There are issues around parking too, Steve.
Yeah, I know. I'll probably have to park some distance away and walk in.
Yeah.
But
that's possibly a reason that I might not.
Yeah, I fully understand. There's not much space at all once you get into that tight area.
No, that's right.
It's a bit.
There'll be plenty of people there, you'll know, though.
Yeah, look, I'd like to catch up with a few people. I'd love to see Leighton again. I haven't seen him for ages.
No, look, he's fine. He's going to be there at 8 o'clock. He's sort of one of the shakers and movers.
Okay, great. It would be nice to catch up with him.
Yeah.
That's all on the cards, so we'll see how we go. Yay. All right. Well, I'll continue now with this performance of the Korngold Concerto, if I can find it. It's here somewhere. Yes, I can find it here. And I think I'll just play the final movement for about 10, and then that'll be it for today. So thanks again, Frank.
Thank you, Steve. It's always great.
It's good fun, and we'll look forward to your company soon, and all the best.
And you. And to the listener, VK3JR is going to listening.
And vk3sl saying cheerio until next time.